Hey, I wanted to make a video about the transgender experience. I know what it's like to be trans. I don't really have an exact like set in stone what I want to say or what I want to do. Got like a very rough thing that I wrote in the text document in like under a minute. So and some like rough thoughts on what I wanted to talk about. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a way of feeling better about where I'm at right now. But, no better place to start than the start, right? So, um, first off, I'm hoping a relative doesn't find this video. I think my dad might be just subscribed to this channel. If you are, and you see this, I'm sorry I didn't tell you already. Um, but yeah, I'd say about like 3 months ago, around about then, I figured out I was trans, and I guess this is something that was should have been obvious to me for like a couple of years beforehand. I'm kind of annoyed about that. I didn't figure out sooner. Like I'm annoyed at myself. But that's not what this video is about. I wanted to talk about kind of talking about the bit that I'm at right now, kind of like the early bit. So I'm a male to female trans, and you wouldn't be able to tell that because I haven't started voice training, and that's kind of part of what I wanted to talk about today. Of course, I'm not at the other bits of being trans yet, but this feels like the hardest part, and I don't know. It's hard to feel like I'm actually trans because I have long hair, but I guess I'm kind of feminine, but that's about the only clues to that I'm trans. I mean, I don't know if that's mostly about the outside perspective of like how I envision people look at me and think about me. But even sometimes myself, I look at myself and I think like, how trans am I? How feminine am I? Etc. etc. And I think a certain bit of that can be attributed to how I treat myself and what I do, but that's a whole other thing. I guess I wanted to talk about roughly a recent experience I had. It wasn't a bad experience, it was just an experience. So I went out with one of my friends and we made some friends with some strangers, sort of. We met some strangers, had a nice night, haven't spoken to them since. Like I don't just like people that I randomly meet, I don't just go like, oh hey, I'm trans, because that's a bit like, you need to suss someone out first. I guess that's one of the things about being trans. You can't just tell someone straight up, oh hey, I'm trans, because what if they're like one of those assholes? And going to the extremes here, what if they're one of those assholes who has a knife and will do something about it? And of course, that's a concern. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to punch a motherfucker in the face, but if someone has a knife and they're determined enough, of course, they're gonna do what they want to do. But thankfully, these people weren't. Of course, they're very nice. They weren't transphobic in the slightest. But it was like you could tell they were. I don't know if confused is the right word, but a certain amount of like, oh, okay, type of thing. I don't think that really makes any sense. But if you see me, there's nothing outwardly feminine about me except for my hair, and that's difficult for me. It's the early transition period. I don't expect people to look at me and go, oh, look, there's a woman right there. Like, I don't expect that, but it's tough to try and get people to understand it, I guess, because, even before I was trans, I guess I saw things this way too. I saw things as like, okay, so this person's trans. Why haven't they done this? Do they want to? Do they just not want to? Are they really trans? Like, what's the deal? And I thought of a way of describing this just a few minutes ago, actually. So like if you're watching this and you're cis, like you're happy with the gender you're born with, then try think of it as like, I mean, like a journey, like a color gradient. So not to be too on the nose or anything, but imagine like a blue to pink color gradient, and you start off as this blue, but you really want to be this pink. And it's like, okay, maybe this is a bad way of describing it. I guess this is kind of like how it seems on the outside. Because on the inside you're that pink, but on the outside it's like you want to get to that pink, but you're still in the blue zone. So that, you know, that getting to the pink would include like voice training, makeup, being on hormones, you know, that type of stuff. But I guess, and you know, maybe surgeries too. And I guess people on the outside, they don't see it that way. They just kind of think, well, why isn't this person like this? Because they want to be like that. And I mean, I get it. Like I said, I used to think like that too. But that's just kind of how it is right now. I can't be who I want to be. Which I've never really said out loud before. And I mean, that hurts to say. I mean, you know, this is who I am. But I can't be that person right now. And I talked to one of my friends recently about this, and they told me to be kinder to who I want to be, which I think that's really good wisdom. I've been sitting on that for a bit, but it's still difficult. Because I'm not who I want to be. I mean, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't what they want to be. Maybe they're in the job they don't like. Maybe they're in a relationship they don't like. Maybe they're in the house they don't like. But this is different. It's like if that job was your skin and you can't just quit being in your skin. I mean, unfortunately, some people do, but that's not a healthy solution. Completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, like I'm not who I want to be right now, but it's not just as easy as quitting a job. I mean, even though that's difficult in its own right, it's not as easy as that. There's so many things that go into it. It's like going through puberty again, but I guess you kind of have to initiate it yourself. I mean, in like every way, pretty much. I mean, like in, you know, hormonal way, you need to get hormones yourself. Well, I guess you don't need to, but I live in the UK. If I were to wait on a waiting list, it would take about 5 years. And if I waited that long, I am confident that I would kill myself in that time. And, you know, I mean, that's really bad to think about. It's hard to kind of view myself as who I want to be, even though I know that I'm valid and that, you know, my feelings are valid and all of that good stuff. It's still hard to look at myself and say I'm trans. I like I want to be a woman, or like I am a woman, or I'm a girl, or whatever. I mean, I don't know what part of me contributes towards that. I don't know how to do makeup yet. I don't dress too femininely, but I don't know how much I want to change that. I kind of like how I dress at the moment. I would just like to fem it up a bit, I guess. It's still hard looking at myself. And it's hard imagining other people looking at me, because I mean, they don't even have the contexts of me being trans. And it's hard to care for yourself when you don't see yourself as who you so desperately want and need to be. And I mean, by that I mean, like, you know, I mean, I've been in a bit of a downward streak at the moment, but usually I keep myself clean enough, I feed myself decently enough, I exercise enough. I mean, you look at me, you say, that person's healthy, I guess, that they're not overweight, they don't look like as if they're on the edge, but I guess I don't do the extras as much. Like I don't make sure I'm like extra clean. I make sure my hair is brushed enough that there's something to keep it out my face. and I go, yeah, that's good enough, because I don't exactly take as much pride in my looks and stuff at the moment, because I haven't learned those feminine things yet, and I mean that's difficult. Like it's just like you're just kind of floating by life. I mean, you don't know how to do these feminine things yet, which is really daunting, because I mean, if you grow up as a cis girl, you know, it's just kind of natural. You know, maybe your parents will teach you how to do this feminine stuff, maybe your friends, and you know that's like normal for you. That's like normal. It's like, yep, that's what you go through. But as a trans woman, it's like, you know, it's almost out of place. Like you're doing it at the wrong time. You're doing it like sometimes by yourself. I mean, even if it's something like you go to buy makeup or something feminine, even though like I haven't done that myself yet, but I've heard that, you know, the people in the shops are like really nice and stuff. You still won't be able to get out of your head that like you are an odd one out there and that you're different, and that it feels like you're not supposed to be there, because your whole life you've been like told, you know, oh, that's the bit for women. You're a man. Now it's kind of like, okay, well, no, not really anymore, and that's difficult. I mean, like I've dealt with anxiety issues in the past. I feel like for the most part I've got over like the most social bits of it, but this is like a new thing. Having to be open about who you are and being okay with how you're perceived, especially in this kind of vulnerable state, especially when at the moment it feels like the whole world is trying to use your minority as the scapegoat for everything that's wrong in the world. I swear there's a name for it. Maybe something to do with glass or mouthwash or something. But I swear there's a name for it. That it's so common. So, you know, that's another part of it being kind of scary. Like, it's just hard to take pride in how you look, or wanting to do those extra things to go, man, I really looked great today. And it just kind of sucks to not be able to take pride in yourself. I mean, I take pride in myself. I'm really proud of being trans and who I am. And, you know, even if it means I'll die, I'll die being trans. But it's hard to like look in the mirror and take pride in how you look, because you still see yourself as a man, even though you don't, but you still do. I'm not sure that makes much sense. I'm not really experienced with making videos or anything. I've been wanting to kind of do more stuff like this for a while now. I apologize if this is kind of all over the place. That's just kind of how I am sometimes. And I don't really know why I'm making this. Maybe it's for cis people, maybe it's for trans people to feel less alone. I don't know. Do I need a reason? I'm just getting my voice out there. Who cares? And then there's like NHS trans healthcare. I might have brushed up on it previously, but it's pretty shit, to be honest. I'm not on a waiting list yet. I've got the forms. I think I filled them in, but I haven't sent them anywhere. But I think they quoted on there that like the waiting list was around about 5 years, which I mean, I'm sure that everyone who's working at these places to get people referred, to get the people the care that they need, are trying their hardest. I'm sure they are, and this isn't directed at those people, because those people are doing God's work. I guess it's more directed at the NHS, and I know that the NHS is not in a good place right now, and that's a whole other conversation. But I just want to focus on the trans healthcare today. The trans care is like, I mean, it's sad to look at. Like, if it weren't for things like DIY hormones, you know, the trans community, I think, would be in a much rougher spot than it is now, which is scary to think about. Like, a 5-year waiting list is horrible. But don't let that discourage you, I guess. I mean, still get on that waiting list, because in the future, yippee, you can get free hormones. Well, not free, but cheaper. And I think some people still choose to use DIY, but still there are benefits. You can, I believe, with some clinics, you can get laser stuff, laser hair removal on your face, and this is all speaking for trans femmes. I don't know much about the trans mask experience. This is just kind of from a trans femme's perspective. There's still a lot of benefits, and it's definitely still worth going through that. But one thing that always irks me is that, from what I've heard, injections, like hormone-wise, injections are the safest and most effective way of going through hormone replacement therapy. But you can't get that on the NHS because injections aren't profitable enough for people to kind of produce like that, which is just disgusting to think about. I mean, what state is the world in where something like that isn't produced because it's not profitable enough? I mean, I don't want to get pessimistic in this video, but it's kind of hard not to sometimes when things like this are a reality. I guess someone who's watching this video who might be cis, or might think they're cis, it's hard for you to see it in the way that I do. Because, I mean, sure, I can get injections, but it's the way that the officials of the world view this. It's just disgusting. There's not really many other ways to look at it. It's just kind of gross. I'm currently on the journey to getting DIY hormones at the moment. The real ones will know why I won't go too in depth about that. But there's like a slight delay in getting it, but I'm really hoping it'll come soon. And that'll be really exciting for me. I mean, that's like a huge step. It'll feel like when I start taking hormones, I'll start getting some physical benefits from that. And I guess it feels like then I'll feel more like a trans woman, or like a woman, or like I'm allowed to use a new name and tell them to be more public about it. I mean, I guess a big point of this video is, imagine you're a trans girl, so you're born a man, and you've just discovered you're a trans girl. You're comfortable with it at this point, but you haven't started doing anything for it now, and you go into work, and now you're like, well, I want the people at work to know who I am. I spend quite a bit of time around them, etc. And you tell them, but you're like, you're still pretty much a cis guy on the outwards appearance. They're not gonna get it. I mean, sure, they might, I mean, sure, they might use the right pronouns and stuff like that, but, you know, they probably won't get it. I mean, it's true that if you haven't went through something yourself, you will never truly understand that. But I feel like as if there's another layer of understanding that they could do. I mean, sure, I don't think it's particularly their fault. I mean, these kind of revelations only kind of hit me once I accepted myself as being trans. And I guess that's what it takes to realize these things. But, you know, I hope that cis people start to see more of that. And like, this isn't talking about my, like, friends or anything. I don't know if I'll show my friends this video. I probably will. No, my friends have been great. More than great. It's more about the people that don't know me as well as my friends do. But then, yeah, that kind of also goes the other way of other people not understanding, because I've got this friend, and she's been incredible about my transition. Like, I mean, I can't thank her enough. I've tried to, but what was something I mentioned to her recently is that she isn't trans, so she doesn't know what it's like. She's done some incredible things for me. She gave me this girlhood bag, as she called it, and she's done so much other things, and it's really sweet. But it kind of makes me sad to know that she'll never know just how much that means to me. I mean, I'm not great at expressing things with my words anyway, but she'll never know how much that means to me. I mean, I hope one day she does. That's something I think about sometimes. Because I want her to know how much it means to me. Because it really does mean the world to me. Like, even if a lot of it's like the gesture that it means, I mean, of course, in the way that it's like awesome. My closest friends accept me. It just feels like on another level. I don't know how to describe it. I think I've lost my train of thought, but that's something I think about. I don't know how I've lost my voice. Well, not lost my voice, but my voice has deteriorated so quickly in this. Probably because it's like 6 in the morning and I'm staying up all night to try and fix my sleep schedule. Boy, who hasn't heard that one a million times before? um, yeah, so maybe my voice sounds weird. Maybe I slipped up a lot. Maybe I sound like I'm high or something. I'm not. I'm just quite sleep deprived at the moment. If someone were to take something away from this, I don't want that to be that being trans is all just negatives and it's all horrible and you just have to deal with all this shit. It's not all negatives. I mean, it feels like when I have my more positive moments, it feels great. I mean, great doesn't begin to cover it, but just it feels freeing to finally say that I am who I am. I'm a transfem. I'm a woman. I'm not male. I'm not cis. And I mean, it was really difficult trying to figure that out for myself. I mean, it took me years. My friends will know that they saw the egg crack, and if you don't know what that means, the egg is like, I don't think that's a trans exclusive term, but it's like a term to use of like accepting yourself as whatever you may be. You know, like how an egg cracks from an egg to a little chick or something, you know. And then like the egg cracking is like maybe you make a realization. You're like, oh hey, that's kind of nice. Ooh. And like, you know, the ball drops a bit, and you're like, huh, that's weird. You know, something like that. You know, they've seen that happen. And I mean, I did too, but I guess I was afraid of what's happening, basically, of having such a lower mood because I'm not who I am. I don't know, I guess I brushed off these feelings for a long time, which wasn't easy. But I mean, I guess I didn't know enough about being trans as well, though. If I were to give any advice, it would be to look into being trans, because it's not, I feel like it's not something where you just have all the answers inside of you. It's like if you were buying a car, I guess, or a laptop or something. Like, you know, you want to do your research into it first to make sure that this is right for you, this is what you want. And then, however long that takes, you'll realize it, and then you'll feel awesome. Because you finally got to accept yourself and you've got this thing now. And it's almost like a hobby. Like you get to like contribute towards it. You know, you get your next payday and you're like, yes, I get to buy this thing that'll go towards that. And then, I mean, I'm not at that point yet, but I guess at some point that just begins to feel normal. And I guess that would be really awesome to just have that feel normal. And it's not like a strange new thing anymore. It's like you have the confidence to walk in and say, yes, what I'm doing. Yeah. Mm. But yeah, I don't want anyone to take from this that being trans isn't good. Being trans is incredible. I really like the community. It's nice to just be who you are. I don't know, it's like a nice, warm, comforting feeling to just be like, yes, who I am. And even if you do something feminine, or your friends refer to you with the right pronouns, it just feels great. It's just nice. It's a happiness you literally have not felt before. Of your however many years of living, you haven't felt that before. I'm 20, and for 20 years I hadn't felt that type of happiness. And it's just so great once you get to feel that and you get to imagine a future you're happy with. It changes so many little things about you and your thought process that you don't even realize. Like you don't even think about this. Or like there's things you won't even have thought to think about. Like suddenly you're happier with the thought of being older. You're happier with the thought of having a certain job because you'll just be like, you know what? Maybe it'll suck a bit. Maybe there'll be bad bits, but you know what? I'll be who I want to be, which is awesome. I don't know, I wish I was more verbally artistic. And I guess this is kind of a part of the journey of improving those skills. Because there's like a lot knocking around in this little noggin of mine that I really want to express, but it's kind of difficult to, and I've yapped enough already. I mean, the recording at this point is like 30 minutes long. I'm hoping the video won't be 30 minutes long, I hope maybe 20 minutes tops. I don't know. I hope whoever you are, whatever you identify as, that this has helped you or it's been nice to watch. I hope you enjoyed the web fishing gameplay as well. I felt like it was maybe the best game to showcase these feelings. I mean, let's face it, it's the gayest game. But yeah, maybe I'll make more videos on this. I mean, it's nice just to voice my opinions and think, hey, maybe 3 people will listen to this. Maybe 3 people will watch this and go, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, stay silly, stay yourself, do whatever you want. Most importantly, be yourself.
For reasons I cannot understand, you continue to lace the world as it burns. The tourniquet so tight you lost the limb, and now the body incomplete, unable to stand. Head in hand, rolled over, beyond black and blue, burn alive. Is crime not related to a dream? Gonna run it, and for the charge notwithstanding, we'll celebrate with wealth. Time, strike!